Hello and welcome to another review edition of the Simply Put podcast. I am your host, Micki Angeles.
How's it going, everyone? I'm fellow Inhuman Fred Niones, a.k.a. Angelo.
We are reviewing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 15, with the episode title being One Door Closes.
Yep.
We have war brought upon the steps of Agent Coulson and the team. Unfortunately, it's from another S.H.I.E.L.D. team.
The real S.H.I.E.L.D.
But they're not Hydra either. We get to see S.H.I.E.L.D. meeting up with a fellow Inhuman to discuss how powers are brought upon them and what great deliverance they are to the human race. And also we get to see what happens to Bobby and Mac during the war or the battle. And also we get a nice cameo from Lucy Lawless.
Yay! I really loved this episode, bro. It was very funny how all 3 episodes this week of the superhero lineup had flashbacks, and the flashback here really worked well. Sorry, Arrow. The fuck? But it was great to see Lucy Lawless come back. When I saw the guest starring, I saw Lucy Lawless, like, oh, she's alive.
Oh, see, I didn't look at the credit crawl.
When the episode started, it was a flashback. Like, at least you get to see her in action. What was very cool to me is how they released this episode like 1 year right after Winter Soldier came out, same exact time, and you get to see the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. in other places. So that was very cool. Yeah,
this episode really brought it back from the lull I think they had. The past 2 episodes were good, but not up to the par of where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 started. But this one really brought it home. I'm getting kind of sick of the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. versus something else, Hydra or another fraction of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Bring on AIM.
But I think that this will be the last episode of this whole conflict.
I hope so too.
And they'll bring about, I guess, a Nick Fury influence that we're theorizing. But this brought back the reason of why S.H.I.E.L.D. was created, the backstory of how Nick Fury told Mockingbird to go and demolish this S.H.I.E.L.D. after finding out Hydra existed. We got that great cameo of Lucy Lawless, a.k.a. Agent Hartley, a.k.a. Izzy. She looks younger than the past episode she was in.
You probably de-aged her a little bit. That's cool.
Maybe we got to see Edward James Olmos and his rise to whatever title he's taking, because in this episode we get to see that he doesn't want to become the director. No. But it was one of these episodes where it's gonna steer it back to where it needs to be, and it needs to go forward towards Age of Ultron / Civil War. To kind of get away from S.H.I.E.L.D. for a little bit, let's get into the Sky storyline. That storyline, the Inhumans story, is where I really find where the juicy bits are. Yes. Sky is secluded in this, what she thinks is a cabin, but later on, after being excommunicated, basically, she finds out it's more of a shell or another, what would you call that? Like another psychiatric room or a ward.
A holding cell.
A holding cell. Yeah. That's what it seems.
And designed by Bruce Banner himself. That was a pretty cool nugget.
And another nugget is we get to see the reader approach Sky, but not in the way he did with her father and Reyna. It was more of the spiritual guide. They get to talk about what the Inhumans means to the reader and how, he can help her control her powers.
And what really got to me was how they played him off of like a Magneto type almost, playing up to the fact that they're gods among these normal people of Earth. And I think he was trying to, he probably knows that this is the mother, mother's daughter.
No, they definitely know. He definitely knows.
It's him showing compassion and him paying back to the mother because how kind she was. And he even brought that up, like, oh, how did they react to you when you finally changed? What did S.H.I.E.L.D. do?
Yeah, and that's exactly the thought processes of her father, Mr. Hyde, about, they're not going to be so receptive to her. Though we've been seeing that between the battle of Fitz and Simmons. We get to see Sky kind of using her powers in a more concentrated form. Unfortunately, it was hurting another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Weird, like she just called out for the reader. The reader was there.
Yeah, Gordon.
I think
that's part of his powers.
Well, his powers are a little bit more deviated, or I guess what we're gonna see is, because since we didn't get a chance to really find them out, is there's a slight deviation of what his powers are in the comics to the TV show. But he is one of the characters I really want to get to know more, because I think he's so interesting with not only the no eyes, but his affection for being an Inhuman himself.
And I think this brings it gives her a big brother kind of dynamic.
Yes,
she lost the Trip, because that was her big brother in S.H.I.E.L.D. when she became an agent. now that she's an Inhuman, now she has this guy that like, oh, I'm gonna accept you. If you call me, I'm gonna be there.
Exactly.
So whatever she lost with Trip, maybe she's gonna get it back with Gordon. All right, let's go back to the real Shield. How about that flashback where we saw the day the Shield fell and the events of Winter Soldier, and we get to see the genesis of where Bobby and Mac are basically the co-founders of this real Shield. What do you think?
I thought it was a great flashback. It brought obviously Edward James Olmos and Lucy Lawless back together. But Mac kind of bothered me in this episode just because he is going to be playing the gentle giant character, which I'm not a big fan of. He's such a big guy, and you would think that he would do bigger and bolder action things, but he doesn't. He has this little weird scene with Fitz in the control room where Fitz is trying to fix whatever Bobby did to the servers, and how they kind of started the attack on S.H.I.E.L.D. It was very weird. It didn't feel organic. It felt
a little forced.
Yeah.
But going by the flashbacks, he was just an engineer. He wasn't really a field agent. So I guess they're playing that type of thing. Like they're like, oh, we have a smart audience, so we got to make this guy. He's an engineer, so he's maybe not a real fighter. And you saw him like fumble through the guns a little bit through the action pieces.
At the end of the battle of S.H.I.E.L.D. versus S.H.I.E.L.D., there was a great conversation the way, I think, in the Arrow with Captain Lance and Oliver Queen they had, except it was a little bit more witty, and very, like, it's striking a lot of daggers. And it was between Clark Gregg's Agent Coulson and Edward James Olmos' Agent Gonzalez, and how they were talking about both of them becoming the heads of their respective S.H.I.E.L.D. teams, and the rift that I think Nick Fury has brought upon S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Marvel Cinematic Universe as far as what us non-Avengers are going to be feeling. I
think this is just striking up. They're building up more towards Civil War, because Nick Fury, Agent Gonzalez, said that the reason why S.H.I.E.L.D. fell was because of the secrets he held, and that he sees himself as a king and Coulson's his heir apparent. So that hatred right there is very cool, because in the comics, Nick Fury's a pretty despicable bastard because he's turned on his friends recently also. So that was very cool.
On the original Sin storyline. Yeah, it was, I don't know. I don't really buy Agent Gonzalez's theory. That's just me trying to become part of this universe. I guess I just have a lot more faith in Nick Fury. So does Agent Coulson. The whole reason of the whole battle was to take Nick Fury's toolbox, aka secret box, I guess is what it really holds. And I think with that scene, it gets us excited for, like, what is Nick Fury's role in Age of Ultron, and what is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s role in Civil War.
Okay, so with Skye going back home or to that Inhuman Sanctuary with Gordon, let us know which Inhumans you'd like to see show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the greater MCU. Go in the comment section.
All right, guys, if you like this episode, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our page, and become one of the Simply Put crew.
Yes.
Where we do reviews on The Arrow, The Flash, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Walking Dead is coming.
Game of Thrones is coming as well. It could be me. It could be Fred. It could be even Jay, maybe if he gets out of his cave. But me, my name is Micki Angeles. Find me on Twitter and on Instagram at McCertified.
I'm Fred Niones, a.k.a. Angel. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at _Fred_N.
For all our reviews or even our long-form podcast, you could find us at www.simplyputtalk.com. We do topics, so if you want to send some to us, or even if you have some questions, give it to us at info@simplyputtalk.com. Stay connected to us via social media on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram at simplyputtalk, and definitely subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, and on iTunes. So until next time, guys. Peace.